Oh, hello, parents of Estonia in Tallinn. Sounds a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest, in fact, and for those who are interested, even though Brexit is looking like it's happening, that won't take us out of the Eurovision Song Contest. Not that we'll get any more than 0 points anyway. However, I congratulate you on holding this event in Tallinn. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I am hoping that we will do some international conferences using the internet and live streaming, so that I hope to do in the future. I've been discussing that with Ruby from Sweden, who's also enthusiastic about doing that. What's interesting is the same issue is occurring in many European countries, particularly Northern European countries, not so much the Catholic countries or the Romance countries linguistically. And I think part of it comes down to the question of who makes the decision as to what is in the best interests of the child. And the question then is what pressures those people are on. Now, England and Wales face particular problems that were highlighted in a French television programme which was broadcast on Tuesday this week, which is that social workers in England and Wales are under pressure to get more and more children adopted. And because the government, particularly in England, can't get its maths right, they don't understand that in fact of the children aged 1 to 4 that leave care in England, roughly 60% go to adoption. They think it's a smaller proportion because they look at the total number of children. And you end up in a situation where I know of at least one case where a local authority has confirmed in writing that they sacked a social worker because she wanted to reunite a family. And I got that in writing from the local authority. In other circumstances, people are under pressure and can lose their job unless they do the wrong thing for the child. So we have this difficulty, which is a problem with who makes the decision and who they're accountable to. They claim that judges make the decision, but what happens in England, for instance, is that the judges decide the experts are right, and the experts are the people who are employed by the local authority. So the judges say, and I've seen a judgment by the magistrates' court where they say simply, because the local authority wants this child adopted, this child will be adopted. So it's not actually that the judges add any value to it, they just simply do what they're asked to do by the local authority. We had the case recently of Teresa Kirk, who was imprisoned because she wouldn't sign some paperwork for Devon County Council. And happily we got her out of prison last week. But it shows you the sort of aggressive way that the courts in England act effectively as enforcers for local authorities, simply because they rely on either the opinion of employees of the local authority or the opinion of people who are either on real retainers, where they have a retainer agreement and it's supposed to be independent but are not, or are actually situations where there are effective retainers and the expert has to keep the local authority happy, otherwise they end up losing their revenue stream. So it's not a system with independent evidence, and I do think we need attention from the legislatures across Europe as to how we sort out the judiciary on this, because it's a constitutional problem, particularly in England, because the government, the executive, is not supposed to criticise the judiciary. The legislature can look at what the judiciary are doing, and it's actually a failure of the European Court of Human Rights, because although there is a case, Lashin versus Russia, which says that independent evidence is required for important decisions, they don't enforce that in other cases. And I think in part it's because the European Court is quite happy to have a go at legislation and criticise legislation, but it isn't so happy to criticise the process of the judiciary. And we had a case, a Welsh case, which went to the Court of Appeal in England, where the judge said, this is not an adversarial system. Well, I don't really know what an adversarial system is, if not taking your grandchild and putting your grandchild up for adoption isn't adversarial. I don't know what is. But the judges effectively, and the Supreme Court here in the Latvian case, they all said, oh, we don't need independent evidence, it's all right, folkies. Well, actually, they're wrong. We do need independent evidence. We need scrutiny of the experts that make decisions to disrupt families and destroy families and actually damage children's lives. They ignore the question of reactive attachment disorder, which is caused to children here. So this is an issue that the politicians need to take serious, and I accept that governments cannot criticise the judiciary. But the justice committees of parliaments should look at the issue of whether it is reasonable to have experts for only one side of a case, which is what we have in England. And I think that's a similar problem when it gets to the Scandinavian countries. Essentially, they rely on the employees of the state who are prosecuting to give an opinion as to whether it's guilty. And if you look at it in the criminal context, we have a situation in which the local authorities, the prosecutory authorities, are given targets for the number of children for them to get adopted. And they are prosecuting the case, they are the experts that make the decisions, they write all the reports. And yes, sometimes they lie, they don't always lie, but sometimes they do lie as well, and we've proved that. Yet the management are quite happy with that as long as they get the outcomes they wish to achieve. Anyway, so congratulations on holding this event. I'm sorry I can't be there, but I do want to organise some international conferences using the internet and video and things like that. And anyone who wishes to participate will be very welcome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.